Welcome back, guys. So today we'll be starting with a new topic, that is descending pathways. Okay, so as far as your exam is concerned, descending pathways is a very important question. They'll be asking you about the corticospinal tract as an essay question. Apart from that, they can also ask you about the difference between the UMN and LMN paralysis. Very important topic. So make sure you concentrate on those topics well. And now we'll be starting with descending pathways, right? Descending pathways. Now this descending pathways, we have classification for this. Descending pathways is classified into two types. Okay, descending pathways is classified into two types. One, they are called as pyramidal tracts. They are called as pyramidal tract. And the next classification is extra pyramidal tract. That's it. Now this pyramidal tract, they are nothing but these are the descending tracts where they are going to pass through the pyramid. They are going to pass through the pyramid in medulla. In medulla. That's it. That is called as pyramidal tract. Extra pyramidal tract means these are also descending pathways, but they are not going to pass through the pyramid. They are not going to pass through the pyramid, but in the medulla. Okay, pyramidal, it is going to reach to the pyramid in medulla, but extra pyramidal, they are not going to reach to the pyramid, but also they are going to reach to in medulla. Understand? Fine. Now, do we have any other what is the classification for these tracts? This is very important. Pyramidal tracts, they are classified as corticospinal tract. That's it. In pyramidal tract, we have something called as corticospinal tract. Extra pyramidal tract, we have lots and lots of name. Remember it as rubro, okay, vestibulo. Next we have reticulo and then tecto. What are those? Rubro, vestibulo, reticulo, tectospinal tracts. Spinal tracts. Rubrospinal tract, vestibulospinal tract, reticulospinal tract and tectospinal tract. These are the extra pyramidal tracts. Now we will be discussing about pyramidal tracts in detail. That is your corticospinal tract. Fine? Okay. See this diagram now. So this is the diagram about corticospinal tract. Fine. So this corticospinal tract, to start with, we have motor cortex here. Motor cortex and also other cortical areas. We will see what is this. Listen carefully. Yes. Now, in descending motor pathways, we have motor areas. We have motor areas. These motor areas, they are divided into two. That is, one is the efferent, which one is output. That is the output. The another one is we have the normal descending pathways. Listen carefully. These motor areas, where they are found in the cortex. So only we call this term as motor cortex. We call this as motor cortex. Motor areas are found in cortex, so we call it as motor cortex. Okay. Now this motor cortex, they are present where? Yes, they are present in the frontal area. They are present in the frontal area. Which sulcus is that? That is the precentral gyrus. Precentral gyrus. Frontal area located mainly in the precentral. Fine. Now next question what they will be asking is, what is the Brodmann area for this? The Brodmann area is very simple. Remember it as 4 and 6. That's it. Brodmann area for the frontal area for the precentral is 4 and 6. Remember, fine. Okay, so we learn about the motor areas, that is cortex. We have the motor cortex. Apart from this motor cortex, they are 3 in number. They are 3 in number. What are those? Let's see. First important thing is primary motor cortex. Primary motor cortex. This primary motor cortex, they correspond to Brodmann area 4. They correspond to Brodmann area 4. What is the function for primary motor cortex? Very important. So they are in Brodmann area 4. Its main function is to execute. We human beings are very good in executing lots and lots of things, right? So this primary motor cortex helps us to execute what? The final motor movements. That is the final motor movements. It helps us in executing movements. Primary motor cortex, first one. The next important thing, very simple, that is your premotor cortex. So any cortex we have to know its Brodmann area. So for primary motor cortex, Brodmann area 4. For premotor cortex, the Brodmann area is 6. Brodmann area is 6. Now this premotor, what is the function? Its main function is to setting up of posture. See, now I am sitting in what posture? I am in sitting position, right? So it helps us in setting up of posture. That is the premotor cortex. Fine. Next important thing, that is your third one, is your supplementary. So supplementary motor cortex. Supplementary motor cortex. What is your first question to come in mind? What is the Brodmann area? Brodmann area is 6. Brodmann area is 6. Next, what is the question coming in your mind? What is its function? Its main function is it is responsible for the bimanual coordination. Responsible for bimanual coordination. That's it. That is your supplementary motor cortex. So to know about the motor cortex or other cortical areas, you should be knowing this much things. Area 46312. Okay, all those things, they are going to your posterior limb of the internal capsule. Can you see here, internal capsule? They are moving to the posterior limb of the internal capsule. What am I talking about? I am talking mainly about the course. Till now I was talking about the origin, yes, about the different types of motor cortex present in the that is the starting point, that we call it as origin. And I forgot to tell you one important point. Where is the main origin? Where it is starting from? It is starting from the, let me use a different color, that is the origin. Here is your origin, right? Origin, correct? So the origin will be, that is the layer 5 of cortex. What is the 5 of cortex I am talking about? There is a group of cells, we call it as Betz cells. That's it. So this is your origin, and then only you should be writing about the motor areas and other motor cortex we have discussed now. And then you move to the course, where posterior limb of the internal capsule. That's it. Now what is happening? So we learn about the course, right? Fine. Can you see here, these fibers are radiating such a way? Yes, they are collectively called as corona radiata. They are collectively called as corona radiata. And now what really happens? These fibers, so in the medulla, okay, in the medulla, these fibers are passing through the pyramid. In the medulla, these fibers are passing through the pyramid, and so only we call it as this there as medullary pyramid. Now listen carefully, this is not important. The next point what I am going to say is very important. Let me use a different color, black one. 80%, listen carefully, 80% is crossed. Can you see here? This is the crossing one. 80% is crossed to opposite side, and that we call it as lateral corticospinal tract. Very important. Lateral corticospinal tract. So this is the lateral corticospinal tract, 80% of the fiber. This is very important. Fine. Now they are going to descend. Can you see here? They are descending to the where? This is very important. That is the lateral funiculus. Lateral funiculus of spinal cord. Where they are descending to lateral funiculus of the spinal cord. 80% of fibers are moving to the opposite side, and we call it as lateral corticospinal tract, and where they descend, where they terminate is your lateral funiculus of the spinal cord. Now can you see other fibers, that is the remaining 20 fibers here, that we call it as anterior corticospinal tract. Now this anterior corticospinal tract, they are going to descend ipsilaterally. The ipsilateral means where they do not decussate, they are not going to the opposite side, they are going to move ipsilaterally. Okay, they are going to move ipsilaterally in the anterior funiculus. In the anterior funiculus of spinal cord. Fine. So only we call this as anterior corticospinal tract. Can you understand? Yes. So yes. Fine. Now termination part around will just revise. The lateral corticospinal tract, they are going to terminate in the lateral funiculus of the spinal cord, and here the anterior corticospinal tract, they are going to terminate in the anterior funiculus of the spinal cord. Yes, fine. So this is all about the corticospinal tract. Remaining functions and reasons, let me just discuss the medial system pathways and then come back here. Fine. So this is all your medial system pathways. This diagram shows the medial system pathways. Yes. So let me discuss this one first. Can you tell me what tract is this? That is the, yes, that is your rubrospinal tract. How can I identify that this is the rubrospinal tract? Listen carefully. First we will be seeing about the origin. Where it originates? Very important. The originate, that is the rubrospinal tract, it originates mainly from the red nucleus. Can you see here red nucleus? That is the red nucleus. That is the origin of the rubrospinal tract. So this is the red nucleus and it is located mainly in the midbrain. Can you see here? Fine. Okay. Now what is the function of the red nucleus? If you ask me, it is going to receive lots and lots of the excitatory input from your cerebellum and the motor cortex. Okay, fine. Now this course, if you see, these fibers are going to move to the opposite side, right? Can you see here? They are decussating to the opposite side, and they are going to terminate in the lateral group of the motor neurons. Can you see here? Lateral group of the motor neurons, they are going to terminate. So if you see a red nucleus, so can you see any other red nucleus here? No. If you see red nucleus, yes, it is rubrospinal tract. Don't forget, this is very important. It mainly originates in the red nucleus. Fine. Where it is present? It is present in the midbrain. And then termination we have discussed. Fine. Okay. Now what you should be comparing here is that your that is lateral corticospinal tract, be specific, your lateral corticospinal tract as well as your rubrospinal tract, they are going to have a crossover decussation, right? So they are going to help us in that is the crossover to the opposite side. This is very important point. Fine. Now let's move to the next one, that is the now you can say me which tract is this one. How can you see a tectum here? So what tract is this? Tectospinal tract. Very simple. Tectospinal tract. Now you tell me what is the origin of tectospinal tract? Very simple. It is tectum. But be specific. That is the tectum on which colliculus? Superior colliculus. Right. So it is from the superior colliculus. That is your origin. Fine. Next, very important, what is the course? How it moves? Does it decussate? Does it cross over? Yes. Yes. So it is crossing over to the opposite side, we have seen, and then it moves through the periaqueductal gray matter and it terminates mainly to the medial group of anterior horn cells. That is the medial group of interneurons and the motor neurons. Very important point. Yes. Is it fine? Okay. Now, very important point. All the medial, this is very important. One more question. All the medial descending pathways, they all descend ipsilaterally. All the medial descending pathways, they all move ipsilaterally, except your that is in the brain. Be specific, in the brain and spinal cord. What I am saying, all the medial descending pathways, they are going to cross over, okay, in the brain and spinal cord, okay, they are going to descend down ipsilaterally, not cross over, they are going to ipsilaterally. So all medial descending pathways, they are descending down ipsilaterally in the brain and spinal cord, except your tectospinal tract, where you can see a crossover here. Okay, is it fine? I am repeating the statement, that is all the medial descending pathways, they all descend ipsilaterally. They all descend ipsilaterally in the brain and spinal cord, except your tectospinal tract, where it crosses over to the opposite side. This is very important. Fine. Now let us move on with the this one. So this is your vestibulospinal tract. Let me write here, vestibulospinal tract. Fine. Now this vestibulospinal tract, if you see, we have two things here, lateral vestibular nucleus and then medial vestibular nucleus. Let us see one by one. Lateral vestibular nucleus, where it is originating? Yes, it is from the lateral vestibular nucleus. I am sorry, vestibulospinal tract is one of two, that is lateral vestibular tract and medial vestibular tract. Lateral vestibular tract, if you see, yes, it is moving to the, it is originating mainly from the lateral vestibular nucleus and it descends down ipsilaterally. Okay, it occupies and terminates in the medial group of interneurons and motor neurons. This is very important. Fine. Now if we talk about the medial vestibular tract, okay, so they originate mainly from the medial vestibular nucleus and they all move ipsilaterally. Can you see here? They all move ipsilaterally and they terminate in the medial group of interneurons and motor neurons. That's it. Very simple. Okay, vestibular tract. Fine. Now let's talk about the another tract, that is the this one, reticulospinal tract. So in reticulospinal tract we have two types, that is the pontine reticulospinal tract and the medullary reticulospinal tract. What is the origin of pontine reticulospinal tract? Yes, we already know, it is mainly from the nucleus reticularis pontis oralis and also nucleus reticularis pontis caudalis here. Okay, so they all terminate to the medial group of anterior horn of cells. Next we have medullary reticulospinal tract, and they mainly originate to a nucleus which is very big, okay, that is nucleus gigantocellularis. This is important. And they also terminate, if they descend on ipsilateral, and they terminate to the medial group of neurons and the motor neurons. This is not important. The most important thing what they are going to ask you as one mark question is that this pontine reticulospinal tract, they are excitatory. Let me write plus point. Plus point denotes they are excitatory. Your medullary reticulospinal tract, they are inhibitory. They are inhibitory. Now, what is the function? What is the overall function of the reticulospinal tract if you ask me? They are going to regulate the limb extensors. That's it. They are going to help in regulating the limb extensors. So far we saw about the lateral motor pathways, also the medial motor pathways. Now let's differentiate them and let's all learn the functions and lesions of it. Fine? Okay. Now let us differentiate now lateral motor pathway and then your medial motor pathway. Fine. So in lateral motor pathway, what we have discussed is that we discuss about corticospinal tract as well as rubrospinal tract. Yes or no? Yes. In medial motor pathway, we discuss about the three important things, that is reticulospinal tract, vestibulospinal tract and tectospinal tract. Reticulospinal tract, rubrospinal tract, vestibulospinal tract and the tectospinal tract. Fine? Okay. Apart from this lateral motor pathway, they are new in evolution. Very important. They are new in evolution. Of course, your medial motor pathway is old in evolution. Okay. This is not important. What is the function? Yes. What is the function of the lateral motor pathway? Listen carefully. The function of lateral motor pathway is that if you are taking notes, you have to keep on writing. Yes. Writing is a very important function of your lateral motor pathway. This writing is nothing but you are using most of your distal muscles. You are using most of your distal muscles. If you use distal muscles, then we call it as voluntary movement. Voluntary movement, which means yes, it is a skilled movement. That's it. Writing, yes, we all tend to write, and then it is a part of distal muscles, so it is a voluntary movement, skilled movement. Fine. What is the function of medial motor pathway? Medial motor pathway, we have three important functions, and all these three functions starts with letter P. That is the postural maintenance. We discussed postural maintenance. Apart from that, your proximal muscle control. Your distal muscle control is controlled by whom? Yes, lateral motor pathway. Proximal muscle control is controlled by medial motor pathway. What is the last one? Or also controls paraspinal muscles. Now I talk about this postural maintenance. Listen carefully. Postural maintenance, they come under anti-gravity muscles. This is very important, and of course they are old in evolution. So these are the very important points between the lateral motor pathway and medial motor pathway. Now suppose if there is any lesion in lateral motor pathway, yes, you cannot write. Okay, this is very important. Fine. Next important question. Yes, this tabular column is very important. It talks about the difference between the UMN and element paralysis. Before moving on with the paralysis, you should be knowing what do you mean by UMN and element. Yes. Now, we discussed that in the motor neurons, that is in the brain, right? Fine. We have two things which is being controlled. One is your cortex, another one is your brainstem, right? This cortex and your brainstem, it all controls your upper motor neurons. Upper motor neurons. When these neurons come to spinal cord, yes, that is your motor neurons, and then you get as lower motor neurons. This is the very basic you should be knowing. In the upper motor neurons, all those neurons reaches the spinal cord. In that, the motor neurons are called as lower motor neurons. In the cortex, in the brainstem, the motor neurons are called as upper motor neurons. This is very important. Fine. Okay. Now, these lower motor neurons are going to innervate your skeletal muscle. When we talk about skeletal muscle, I remember two important things, that is the alpha motor neuron and the gamma motor neuron. Yes, I hope you also remember the same. The alpha motor neuron, you all know the function of alpha motor neuron. We already discussed. It mainly innervates your extrafusal fibers. That helps in muscle contraction. Very important, right? So your extrafusal fibers, it contains what? Actin, myosin. Yes, I hope you remember actin, myosin. We all draw the diagram of the skeletal muscle. I have told you, right? So it helps in the muscle contraction. Next, the gamma motor neurons are going to innervate your intrafusal neurons, where it mainly regulates your muscle tone. That's it. Your muscle tone. That's it. This is very important. Now let us move with this basic thing. Now let us move with the paralysis part. Yes. So your muscle affected is always in groups, but in element it is always individual muscles. Yes, of course. Size of the muscles, no atrophy, but here you get the atrophy. What are the types of paralysis? In UMN it is spastic, that is the hypotonia, and here element is flaccid. Very important. This is very important. Flaccid is important. Tendon reflexes, yes, it is exaggerated here, and in element it is diminished or mostly to be absent. We have superficial reflexes, if you think about, is all absent in both the cases. Very important, Babinski sign, we will discuss later. Babinski sign is extensor plantar response, and here it is flexor plantar response. We will discuss, no problem. And then involuntary movements, it is absent, and in element it is present in the form of fascicular twitches. Is there any EMG changes? Yes, it is seen in the element paralysis, that is denervation potential is seen in the EMG. And nerve conduction study, yes, there will be decreased nerve conduction in the element, but there will be no abnormalities seen in the UMN paralysis. Yes, this is most important. Fine. Okay. Now, what we are going to discuss is that some other lesions, okay, specific to it, we will discuss it. That is the decerebrate posture. That is the decerebrate posture. Listen carefully. Decerebrate posture, if you see, where is the lesion occurring? This is your first question. So tell me, where is the lesion occurring? The lesion occurs in the complete transection at the brainstem level. Complete transection at the brainstem level between your superior colliculus and also your inferior colliculus. That's it. What I told you, where is the lesion? So it is a complete transaction between the brainstem between a superior colliculus and the inferior colliculus. Fine. This is your lesion. And what all we have learned about various tracts. Does it influence some tracts here? Yes. It is going to influence your corticospinal tract, we discussed, and also your rubrospinal tract, that we discussed as lateral motor pathways. So corticospinal tract and the rubrospinal tract, all those influence will be lost where in the decerebrate posture. This is very important. Okay. Apart from that, we learned about the remaining brainstem pathways. The remaining brainstem pathways, what will happen to them? It will be overactive. It will be overactive, mainly your reticulospinal tract. If you see, it is more and more active, okay, where your extensors are lots and lots of active. This lots and lots of active extensors is ultimately active, which is mainly influenced by your gamma motor neuron. That's it. So only your body classically undergoes a condition called as extension rigidity. Because of overactivity of your extensors, you get a condition called as extension rigidity. Very important. And this extension rigidity extensors are controlled by what? Gamma motor neuron. So only it is also called as gamma rigidity. That's it. Fine. Can you understand here? So your forearm, if you see how the patient will be, your forearm will be in pronated state, right? And in this, what we do is that we remove the let me the treatment part here. We are going to remove the anterior surface of cerebellum. What will happen? Then your extension rigidity, if you see, then the extension rigidity will be in the exaggerated form. Yes or no? Yes. And this extension rigidity, because it will be in the exaggerated form, right? Yes, what I told you, when you remove the anterior surface of the cerebellum, the extension rigidity will be in the exaggerated form, and because of the alpha motor neuron overactivity, that we call this as alpha rigidity. That's it. This is very important. We learn about two things. One is gamma rigidity, that is your extension rigidity, and we have alpha rigidity, also called as, very important, that is decerebellate rigidity. This is important. Decerebellate rigidity. We have another type of posture called as decorticate posture. Very important. Let us discuss this alone. Listen carefully. When you remove your cerebral cortex, listen carefully. I am talking about the decorticate posture. When you remove this cerebral cortex, only the corticospinal tract alone will be lost. The another one, that is the rubrospinal tract, will be intact. So only when there is extension in lower limbs, it will be overactive. That is because mainly of your reticulospinal spinal tract. Talking about flexion, yes, there will be flexion in the upper limb, and it is also overactive. It is mainly due to rubrospinal tract. That's it. This is what you have to remember. What I told you, we have the corticospinal tract which is lost, but only the rubrospinal tract alone will be intact. There will be extension in the lower limb which is overactive, mainly controlled by your reticulospinal tract. There will be flexion in the upper limb, it is overactive, mainly controlled by your rubrospinal tract. Can you able to understand? Fine. Okay. I told you I will be discussing about a very important topic, that is Babinski sign. Very simple. If you, so this is the foot. Okay. So now on striking, listen carefully, on striking the lateral surface of the foot. Okay. On striking the lateral surface of foot, normally, okay, normally, like we all individuals, what will happen? Yes, normally what will happen is there will be plantar flexion of all toes, right? This is your negative Babinski sign. If it has to be positive Babinski sign, what really happens is, yes, there will be dorsiflexion of the great toe, there will be dorsiflexion of great toe, and all other toes will fan out. Then we call this as positive Babinski sign. And one more important point you have to remember here is, it is purely a UMN lesion. That's it. This is the Babinski sign important points. I hope it is clear. So far we have discussed about the descending pathways, right? So thank you. Have a nice day. Please subscribe.